Good day, students. Please go and launch Archicad. Once you've launched Archicad, you'll need to navigate to that folder where you've extracted all this information. So let Archicad launch, and then you'll need to navigate to go and open a project. Okay, so once the screen loads, you're welcome at a home screen. You're going to say Browse Projects. Okay, Archicad will shut down and it will relaunch and ask you to browse for a folder or navigate to a folder where the work has been located. Okay. Okay, great. Then you're going to go and find the location where you're working. So desktop, workshop. I'm going to open up this example. I'm going to press open. Okay, it will launch the example project that I've created for you to start with. So please note, in the beginning we're going to learn how to draft, and then we're going to start modeling. So it's important to understand that in Archicad, you should be seeing exactly what I'm seeing. In Archicad, like you do in Revit, there's a combination of drafting and modeling. We can't model everything. There's a lot of drafting that we still have to do, okay, in addition to modeling. So I think what we're going to cover first is the fundamentals of drafting and how to start producing some of the technical drawings that you're doing for construction. In the beginning, a lot of it's 2D, and then we're going to progress to modeling things in 3D. Okay. So our first exercise, is you need to draw a series of lines as indicated, and then you're going to have to measure the diagonal as part of this exercise. Okay, so straightforward. Most of the documentation or 2D elements of Archicad are located in the Documents panel. Okay, so make sure that your interface looks similar to mine. You'll see in the Documentation panel, you have lines, polylines, fill tools, you can bring in images, figure tools. Okay, so there's a lot of, most of the documentation objects are loaded in the Documents tab, in essence, in this tool palette. Okay, so pretty straightforward. To use a tool, you just simply activate the tool. So what's important to understand about Archicad is that if you click this down arrow, you notice that you have a series of pre-built line types that you can use, or you can double click on this line tool and you can go and preset this tool going forward. Just note that you're doing the same thing in the ribbon. So layer, make sure that you select the correct layer, so make sure it's 2D drafting. So going forward that you use the correct layer. Okay, so that's important. That can be preset a lot of the times in the line types as well. I have noticed that you see 2D drafting general. You can see a lot of this is preset in the layer. So you can preset your line going forward, and then you can save these. You can save it as a new favorite. You can save these going forward. Okay, so that's quite a handy tool to understand. All right. So Archicad it's got a line type that you can use, so you need to select the line type. You can use different methods, so as a single line, connected lines, rectangles, so you can draw rectangles. Okay, so what type of geometry you're trying to draw. Okay, so that's important. Just remember, if circles and that, you've got different tools to do that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use the quick select tool very quickly, and we're going to use the hatch line. Double click, and you'll notice that it'll change all of these settings to the correct settings. Note that you can create any line type manually, but just there's a few steps that you'll have to go through. And you'll notice in the pen settings, so in pen settings, which is down here, you have a whole lot of pens pre-built to achieve an outcome. For technical drawing, we use grayscale or black and white. Initially, we'll use some color later on. But for now, just understand we're going to use these pens that are pre-set up for drafting that have very specific line weights. Okay. As the exercise progresses, it will start becoming evident on how to use this. Okay, so let's start from scratch. We're going to create the line tool. We're going to select the correct line type that we want to create. And then we're going to start snapping and drawing. So you'll see it allow me to snap in that intersection. Just note that Archicad is trying to work square or within an axis, so X and Y, or north, south, east, west, and at angles. So it'll allow you to snap at certain angles. Okay, so once you've activated the drawing command, if you draw in this direction, You can type in a dimension and you'll notice it'll create a bit of line work to the correct length. Please note that lines work very similar to working with Inkscape and GIMP. You have an order of where they sit. So when you keep drawing, the latest object will always sit above the other object, and you'll have to use draw orders to send things to the front or back. But we'll get to that later on when we start tackling more of the nuanced types of workflows. Okay, so I've got my first line. I'm going to use the select tool. Now what you need to do is you need to move this line down. You need to create a copy. So when you activate these commands, when you select an endpoint of any object, a series of tools that are relevant to that object will appear. So I need to move this line down, but you'll notice that if I want to create a copy, you'll need to press Control on your keyboard and the plus icon will appear around your cursor. Okay, so I'm going to copy this down by 500. Okay, so that's my first line drawn and copied. Okay, now this line type, just remember this will match this line type. So we need to set this up differently. So we're looking for 2D elements drafting pen. Okay, so what we're going to do now, this hasn't been pre-created, so you're going to have to go and find the correct pen. So if you go to this section over here, you'll notice you want 2D elements drafting. So you need to go and find. So 2D elements drafting. Okay, you'll need to pick the correct pen. So 2D, so just hover. So you're looking for 2D elements general. We want drafting, which will be this one over here. Great. So you'll notice that the line weights are progressively getting thicker. Please note, you want line weights enabled. We are working to a scale of 1 to 50. We've preset this for the view. Okay, and these line weights will correspond and will show to that scale on a sheet. So just remember, it's emulating what you will see on a sheet at that scale. Okay. So I've now selected the next element. I'm going to copy this down again. So select this endpoint, and whatever tool you used last with the type of line work or polyline, it will try and use that tool again. So just remember, you need to select, so rotate, move. Okay. So we're going to move this down. So press Control. We're going to move it down again by 500. Just remember, if you lock Shift, it'll lock it on an axis as well, or at an angle. So once you've got that angle, it'll keep it at an angle. So that's quite handy to know. So I'm going to type in 500 again. So 500 again. Now I'm going to go and find the next line type. So select the next line type. So we're looking for symbols and separators. Okay. Again, you'll notice that the line weights are getting progressively thicker, and you can see it's 0.2. Good. We use different line types to denote structure, non-structure. Okay, 500. We do this again. Just remember, you need to press Control, 500. Good. We're going to say cut, non-structural. So this is more like masonry. Masonry generally is not a structural item. It's a substrate in most circumstances. Okay. But it does have a structural characteristic as well. So make sure that is structure, cut, non-structural. We're going to copy this down again. 500. This one will be cut structural, and you'll notice the line weights. So the most important line needs to be the thickest. Okay, cut structural. You'll notice how the line weights are progressively getting thicker and thicker and thicker. I'll give you a guide on how to use line weights in Archicad as well. Okay, now we're going to have different types of lines. So these lines typically depict surfaces or wet surfaces in a building. So you've got a waste border and you've got drainage. Okay, so these work slightly differently. So I'm going to copy this down, Control 500, and I'm going to do this one last time. Control 500. Good. Now this will be pen wastewater. Now this will have a line type as well, because we need a symbol to denote this better, because sometimes just a solid line, we need a series of different line types to denote different types of services as well. Okay, you'll see electrical will be shown differently. So wastewater, good. There's another tool that you can use. You can also copy properties from an element. So you use the pick element tool, and then you can use the inject parameters. So it copies all the information from this line type and applies it to the one. Okay, so that's quite handy to understand as well. Now all I need to do is pick the right pen. Okay, so now we've drawn our correct. If at any point, if you're not sure you've made a mistake, you can use the measure tool. Okay, so if you use the measure tool, you can see it's measuring the space in between. The total length should be 3 meters. Okay, and you should have 500 between as well. Okay, so that's quite handy to use as well and understand how to use the measuring tool. Okay, so once we've created the series of lines, I want you to go and select the dimension tool. With the dimension tool, make sure that you select the measure dimension. Okay, when dimensioning, at any point, if you're not sure on how to use a tool, Archicad's got an inbuilt little tutorial thing where you can say show me how, and it'll open up another screen that will show you how to use these tools, and you can jump through the tools that will explain how to. Okay, so what types of dimensions to use. Okay, so this is quite handy to understand as well. So I want to select this intersection and I want to select this point here, for example. If you double click in the direction of where the dimension must go and you select how it should work, I'm going to use the diagonal, you'll see that it'll give you a dimension. Press spacebar or exit to exit the command, and I'm going to drag this down. So select the endpoint of the dimension, select the dimension, click at the end. So select the dimension, and if you see, if you hover at the endpoint here, so let me just select the line here. So if you want to move an object, you see you can drag it, drag tool. You don't have to drag this. What I need you to do is you need to measure that diagonal and give me that distance. So give me the rounded off dimension. Okay, by default these are getting rounded off to the closest dimension. You can select just the text and you can click on this A tool, and you can see that it'll give you an exact measurement here. I want the dimensions without decimals. I want the rounded whole dimension. Okay. Alright, so that's that for exercise 1.